I buffed minor island nations from all around the world in EU4. Modifiers ranging from military, economic, to diplomatic. They have plenty of buffs, and this should enable them to expand out from their precarious starting spots, and I'm curious to see how they interact when they inevitably clash. Other nations, ones without the buffs, basically they stand no chance, so we're waiting this one out to see how the Titans collide. If you like the idea of this video and you want to see more, make sure that you like it and subscribe for plenty of videos like this to come. The map is going to look pretty normal. There's a couple of changes you may notice. Obviously, we got rid of the natives because they are annoying. But in Europe, you'll notice a few extra tags. We now have an Iceland who has entered the arena, as well as a Sardinia. Aside from that, borders for everything are exactly the same. But many of these small little minor Irish nations have joined the Island Boys Club, giving them quite a few buffs. Quite a few. Basically, if they have this buff, they will win. That's basically the goal. Joining the club is Cyprus, Sardinia and Corsica, Iceland, Gotland. Very nice unit model, by the way. The guy has nice hair. Leinster here. And then I added some boys over in this vicinity as well. The natives in Ainu, turn 8 here. Kote in the south of Sri Lanka. Betsimisaraka over here in Madagascar. And I think that's it off the top of my head. I might be wrong, but we'll figure it out eventually. But you guys know how we figured this out is we speed 5 and we unpause. Just 2 years in, Kote has actually jumped over the straits here and annexed these guys in the south. And Leinster is apparently being extremely aggressive. And they do occupy the Pale because apparently they are allied to Denmark, who is fighting in the Swedish War for Independence. Well, that certainly happened very fast. Oh yeah, doesn't look so good for these guys. Looks like they bit off a little bit more than they could chew by allying Denmark. Their defensive alliance seems to have backfired on them. We always knew it was a risk. We have our first casualty of the Island Boys. Leinster has been gobbled up by the English. And meanwhile, 8 years in, Iceland hasn't gotten a single ally, no rivals, nothing. They're chilling. Chilling in Iceland. Get it? Cyprus snagged this Isel in southern Anatolia. And Sardinia is currently at war with Aragon, helping out the Castilians, but I'm not so sure if they're going to get anything in that war. Aragon not looking so good, mostly occupied between Castile and Portugal, but then there's also Naples on the other side. And sadly, it looks like Constantinople is about to get conquered by the Turks. Nothing surprising, but still, doesn't make it easier to watch. And funnily enough, I actually didn't buff Scotland, but they are currently thrashing England. They've got more men in the field, and they have them mostly full occupied. And what isn't occupied by Scotland is occupied by a bunch of rebels. And to be honest, there's a bunch of rebels all over the place. A few pockets here in Germany. And it looks like Iberia is having a few as well. Though so far, no border changes for Sardinia, and Cyprus is still just chilling where they were at before. Our Madagascar tag over here, Betsimisaraka, is almost united the entire island. And Kote has the entirety of Sri Lanka, as well as southern tip of India here. Turn 8 is boring, doing literally nothing but drilling their army with their little tiny guy building something over there. As is Ainu. They declared a war on Nivik, but then they didn't do anything with it. Though they are colonizing this island up here, they do get a colonist through the Island Boys buff. Oh, sheesh. Yeah, about 30 years in, and Cyprus sensed some blood in the water from the Mamluks. Not only have they taken the Nile Delta, they have also taken the Holy Land of Jerusalem. Truly a crusader state. It seems that Kote sniped another province up here in the north, but what the heck happened to Vijay? They're one province minor over here now. Meanwhile, Bamanas is absolutely strong, as well as Gujarat and Bengal, but that's no surprise. Ainu finally made a move and actually, in a big way, annexed a ton of land in Manchuria. Meanwhile, Gotland just sitting there, chilling, like their AI is broken or something. They're literally not doing anything. And the same with the Icelanders. Just, still chilling. I'm gonna make that joke literally all video. And finally, after 1500, we finally have our first couple of colonies from turn 8. As has Betsimisaraka expanded quite a bit over here into the southern parts of Africa, and it looks like they're actually going to attack Kilwa for some of that sweet, sweet Zanzibar lands. The lands of Cyprus hasn't changed a whole lot, but my goodness, the lands of Naples certainly has. Lost some land to the Ottomans, as well as they are currently at war with France and Castile. Yikes. And then you got Sardinia over here. All the buffs in the world. They've expanded a tiny bit up into Tuscany, but that is it. Let's hope that maybe they can unite Italy. That would be cool. And I said that Gotland hadn't expanded yet, but finally, in 1513, we have a war going on, a Gotlander piratical war against Sweden, which actually means that they can probably take some land from them. That would be cool. Just take a look at how overpowered these buffs are. These guys have 3-day siege ticks, and that is pretty cool. Likewise, to siege their stuff back, their siege ticks for the enemy is going to be like 90 days. So yeah, once they occupy a province, it's going to be hard for the enemy to take it back. And those buffs actually apply to everybody that has the buff. Meanwhile, we have a blue Vinland over here. Very cool. We finally have Colonial Iceland, which I would love to see. Keep them competitive. We also have the Danes up here in Canada. The Portuguese are in the Caribbean. The English are over here in Mexico. Castile is in Brazil, and Portugal is in Argentina as well as Peru. And funnily enough, we have a Sardinian Venezuela. Very cool. Ideas for Iceland are eco-defensive. Scotland went maritime offensive, which is actually pretty sweet. Sardinia went admin quantity trade, so they will be rich in this Genoa trade node. Betsamissaraka went admin. Ternate, who is doing a good job colonizing the area, decided to go eco-offensive. Very nice. And Ainu, who has lost some land to Ming and has taken some land in Japan, decided to go humanist espionage. Now, I didn't mention Cyprus in that because I regret to inform you guys that our little Crusader buddies have indeed been snuffed out. Between the Mamluks and the Ottomans, though I think it was actually exclusively the Mamluks. Sad times. F in the chat for Cyprus. And while we're here, we might as well take a look at the shenanigans going on in the HRE. Austria is 2 provinces now in southern Austria. Bohemia and Cologne, of all people, have decided to take over most of northern Germany. We have Burgundy, Denmark, and Volgast all in on the play up here as well. Hungary and Poland have been duking it out, and it looks like Poland is winning, but we now also have the Ottomans over here in the Polish lands. Muscovy is thriving, but they do have a border with the Great Horde that is pretty big. Hard to say what's going to happen over here. And we have a very big Ming, but you guys know that that means literally nothing because one minute they'll be thriving, the next minute they are dead. And I forgot to mention this, but Kote is doing pretty good, slowly taking over a province here, a province there, and they're doing all right so far. Oh yeah, Gotland got theirs, all the way from Skåne to Osel and up to Stockholm. Based. 1600. Definitely some things to note. South America has mostly been colonized, Spain in Brazil and Portugal in Peru as well as Rio de Prata. Though up in the north here, you're going to see Sardinian Colombia. Curious. More on that in a moment. The Caribbean is a little bit of England, but mostly Portugal as well as Mexico. Mexico is almost exclusively Portugal. Portugal is also colonizing California. I won't make a joke this time because people get really upset when you joke about politics. Meanwhile, Spain is getting most of the east coast of America, but we cannot count out Blue Vinland. They're trying. They're doing their darndest. They are colonizing right next to Scotland, so that's pretty funny, as well as Denmark, of course. Gotland over here has replaced Sweden. That's hilarious. I love that. And they now border a Russia. Russia, who has absolutely decided to go full beast mode and has conquered most of Northern Asia and Siberia. We also have an Ottomans who has conquered a very large chunk of everything right next to a beautiful, beautiful Sardinia Piedmont. In my opinion, the most beautiful color nation in vanilla EU4. I love the toothpaste. Bring on the toothpaste. Meanwhile, Spain is eating France, England is eating France, Burgundy is eating France, and our new little toothpaste buddies are eating France. We also have a Westphalia here in northern Germany. Very cool. I assume that was formed by Cologne. They were looking pretty good. Cyprus is back in the hands of Catholics. This time, it is the Knights. And East Africa is all Betsamissaraka. All this untapped power that they have over here, they are definitely going to be a titan in the late game. As is Kote, more than likely, with most of India under their control, beating up Bengal and pushing them inland, which I really like to see. And I almost missed this. Kote Indonesia is a thing. They have taken over most of the land over here. Sadly, Ternate has been pushed back out of their own lands by another one of the island boys, and it's all right, because Australia is being colonized both by Kote as well as Ternate. So there's definitely going to be more conflict with them in the future. I think we know who's going to win, though. Ainu has had a very solid game, taking up a lot of Japan, which has formed, by the way, as well as Korea, pushing into China and Mongolia. Apparently, they're also in the Philippines, which is pretty cool. Wu is now the emperor of China, but Ming does exist. Ming is now 2 provinces over here, probably not for long, considering the fact that they have separatists about to siege down this province. I actually don't even know if they can lose their capital to rebels. I actually don't know that one. And in 1600, we have the Ottomans in first place. Not really a big surprise, but what is a surprise is Sardinia Piedmont there in number 2. All that sweet, sweet Italian development. Spain with their colonies in the 3rd place, with Portugal and their colonies in the 4th. We do have a Kote in 5th place, which is also really nice to see, as well as a Russia, Poland, and then Burgundy, of all people. 140 years left, and we have a couple more formables on the map. We now have a big, beefy, strong Italy, who has conquered a very large portion of the map, and how cool would it be to see a Roman Empire I doubt we'll see it, but it would be cool. The Commonwealth formed out here in the steppes, but yeah, they're not very strong. They've actually lost a lot of their land to another formable. Gotland has formed Scandinavia, the most blessed form of Scandinavia. Also, we do have a Ducal Prussia over here in Danzig, of all places. Very cool. Betsamis continues to conquer southern and eastern Africa. And they've also made their way over into Arabia, so that's a thing as well. We have an Italian Guinea over here, very nice. And Kote and Ainu are carving up Asia, making their borders nice and messy between each other, with a few other tags hidden in there like Ayutthaya with the same color CB as Kote. Got some border gore over here in Khorasan between Russia and Kote, as well as Delhi and a few other nations, but you know, to be expected. We have Russia, and then we have Russian East Siberia, very nice. Ternate was eaten by Kote, no surprise there, and they also consolidated their colonies, and now there's only a couple of provinces over here that are Portuguese. As for the rest of the colonial stuff, we've got Italian Colombia now, as well as Scandinavian Brazil, and I assume that that's going to grow because Scandinavia is beating up on Spain at the moment. Aside from that, it's all Portugal. Same with the Caribbean and Mexico. But British Panama, huh? Okay, I can see it. Cascadia and California are both Portugal, and Louisiana, as well as the East Coast, is Florida, but Vinland is getting in on some of that action. It appears that the Catholics did indeed come out victorious in the League War, but yeah, they've got a pretty weak emperor at the moment. And I don't think I've ever seen this before, but Crimea is an elector in the HRE. This may actually be the best timeline, honestly. Germany, France, and Iberia are all Catholic, with the Protestants in the north and the Anglicans over here in the British Isles. Betsamis loves feet, and they are teaching everyone else the beauty and the love of feet as well. And Kote has converted the Hindus over here to Buddhism. Very cool. It appears that Ainu is also Shinto. I thought they were animist, but it looks like they're Shinto, and they are doing it as well over here. Actually, they probably were animist. They just converted to Shinto. That would make more sense. New World is mostly Catholic with a couple of Protestant provinces. Same thing up here in the north. There is quite a lot to take in here, and we're going to go over all of it. First of all, as you can see, Italy is the leader. Italy wins. Italy wins by 3x plus, so yeah, safe to say Italy is the winner. Kote actually did pretty well, as well as Ainu. Actually, the top 5 are all buffed nations, so it just goes to show how strong those buffs really were. Russia is in 6th place with just over 1,000 development, with Kazembe and then Westphalia after them. Economic hegemon fully stacked up for Italy. No surprise there. Economic is probably the easiest to get, and it's also like the strongest because it gives goods produced, so you actually like win more. Kind of funny. One thing that I am quite disappointed about is that this guy right here, this Restore the Roman Empire, you can see here, it is actually enabled. After yes-manning a peace with Spain here, you can see they can click this button, and I'm actually going to click it, but I'll tell you right now, the reason why they don't is I went into the code and I checked. It actually has an AI chance or whatever of 0, so that somebody at Paradox literally said, if this decision is available, do not click it if you are the AI. Why? I don't know, but we're going to click it here because obviously we're going to click it. AI forming a Roman Empire and absolutely banging it out, absolutely just like dominating. That is incredible. I love it, and I'm really, really thankful that this was a thing. Overall, things in India/China didn't really change a whole lot. Kote and Ainu both kind of did their thing and consolidated their borders. They didn't really go to war and change borders a whole lot, though Ainu definitely dominated Russia and pushed them back because Russia is like now 4 or 5 different enclaves, which is hilarious. Though my favorite enclave is Russian Persia. Kote somehow lost some provinces in the south and cut off their capital from the rest of their land, so we get Kote India over here, but it's a lot more than just India. Scandinavia ended up pulling through and doing pretty good. This was Gotland, remember, and they ate up most of Scandinavia, of course. Looks like they lost some land to the Romans at some point, but yeah, aside from that, they did pretty good. Isn't it kind of nuts to think that Westphalia is like the number 8 great power right now, and they are literally like less than 10 provinces? I think that's kind of crazy. We'll look at that. The New World is a bit of a mess, but a little bit of blue, a little bit of pink. You can see Vinland, Danish Canada, New Scandinavia, very nice borders as well. Icelandic Louisiana, very good. Roman Louisiana up here in Canada. And the Romans control the west coast as well. All of Mexico, Colombia, Peru, all that stuff, it's all Roman. But Scandinavia does have Brazil as their own territory as well, with one little province here for Spanish Brazil. North Africa is all Roman Empire, but you can see over here, Spain with their capital in Bambouk, and the Scandinavians have a colony over here in Cahors. Kazembe ended up in the top 8, which is pretty cool. Betsamis did pretty good as well, but they didn't actually do a whole lot after they consolidated their region of Africa. They just kind of sat back and watched. They did make their way up into Egypt. At one point, they even controlled Cairo, but it looks like Italy beat them up for it. So yeah, not surprising there. The Roman Empire has 2.3 million men in the field, which is pretty crazy to think about. With a max manpower of 1.6 million, a maxed out economy for them as well as Scandinavia for that matter. Maxed out economy for them as well as Kote for that matter. And Ainu and Scandinavia, Betsemis, Raqqa, they're all actually not too far off. But the Roman Empire had to pay for it. Over time, you can see here, they lost 35 million men. 30 million just to attrition, which is crazy considering the fact that they had like 2-day siege ticks. Number 2 is 8 million for Kote. So yeah, Romans definitely bought it with blood, so to speak. And the development map mode is actually pretty sweet. I like this. You get areas in Italy. Obviously, that's the thing. That's always a thing. But look at this development up here in Germany. All these smaller nations seem to have devved up their capital quite a bit. For example, Leipzig is 62 development, which is nuts. Prague is 52. 63 over here in Metz. Rome is 57, and you know that there's coal in this province because they've got 63 development in a highlands province. This is a nice view here. You've got Portugal and then Spain. Portugal is the developed part of Iberia. Take from that what you will. And then Gibraltar down here is like no development. Take from that what you will as well. Then you come out onto the steppes and you see, yep, it's all red. No development out here. But now you can see why Kote actually did so well. Decent development over here in Indochina as well as India, of course. They don't even control many of the high dev provinces up in the north. China has a ton of development, so Ainu clearly picked up a lot there. And how funny is it that Japan's borders are like exactly the same as they were when we looked like 150 years ago? Religion-wise, Protestant in the north, Catholic in the south. No surprise, Italy was Catholic and converted a lot of stuff over here. New World is mostly Catholic except for the Protestant colonies of Scandinavia. And the same is down here in the south, but we've got a little bit of Anglican down here. Africa looks roughly the same, only West Africa was colonized, so it was converted over here. And fetishists sniffing feet over here in the east. Buddhists maintain their dominance over here, though it looks roughly the same as it did last time we looked. And it looks like Ainu converted a bit of China, but not really a whole lot. Roman Australia, right over here by Roman Australia. Italy is all Roman. There was a bit of Polish culture conversion. There's Icelandic culture here in Iceland, of course, but there's also quite a bit over here in Canada. Imagining how strange Icelandic and Danish sound, I don't think I would do well in Canada in this timeline. The Scots pushed a bit here into Northern Ireland. South America is Platinian, Brazilian, but there's also some Sardinian in the north, as well as Swedish over here. We cannot forget Swedish. This is actually the Amazon, I believe. So this is the Amazon Delta over here. I could be wrong. We've got Americans over here in Panama, surrounded by Scots, Americans down in Texas, surrounded by English, and Mexicans in Louisiana, surrounded by Castilians and Portuguese. And for some reason, lots of Scots and English up here in Alaska. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel for more content to come. If you have a suggestion of a thing that you'd like to see and you think it would be a fun video to make sure you leave it in the comments down below. And if you want early access to this, my patrons saw this video like last week. So for $5 a month, you can get early access to every video. If you want access to my Discord, my subreddit, my Twitter, those things are all linked in the description below the video. And that is all I've got for you for today. So until next time, stay chill.